Knowledge for Men, episode 62. Welcome to knowledgeformen.com, where boys turn into men, where men turn into leaders, into lions, the ferocious few who stand strong, a place where you grow to become the man you were born to be. It's time to take massive action towards the life you want. Get the health, get the relationships, business, and career you've always dreamed of. Achieve a level of success and happiness that you've been searching for so many years. Life has given you enough, and it's time to take a stand and take full control of your life. Stand with us as we interview the most inspiring and successful leaders to give you real-world advice to crush life and awaken the sleeping giant inside of you. This episode is brought to you by my private online men's group called The Lion's Den. You can check it out at knowledgeformen.com and click on The Lion's Den. If you've been listening to this podcast and you like the content, but find it hard to find other guys out there to relate to, talk to, share your wins and challenges with, maybe you're on your own path of personal development and other guys think it's weird or they're just not interested in what you're doing. You kind of feel like you're alone on this mission, but you're not. There's thousands of other guys out there who are on the same path, and I've been putting together a group called The Lion's Den to try and find these guys, bring them together. Hey, I know it's hard to make the push towards greatness in your life, and I found that the best way to get somewhere you've never been is to surround yourself with other people who are already there, or who are on the same path as you. So The Lion's Den does just that. It's a group of men who want to achieve greatness in all areas of life: health, wealth, relationships, and personal growth. Check it out at knowledgeformen.com and click on The Lion's Den. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with pro skateboarder Chris Cole, X Games champion, two-time Skater of the Year with Thrasher Magazine, and Street League champion. Chris, happy to have you on the show.
Hey, I'm psyched to be here.
Psyched to have you on the show. And it means a lot to me, actually, to have you on the show because I grew up skateboarding and just where I met most of my friends growing up, just skating, watching your skate videos, and just causing havoc in Temecula, California. So had some good times there. And yeah, it means a lot to me to have you on the show, just to pay respect to the skateboarding community and acknowledge the fact that the skaters are athletes and they deserve that respect. And Chris, we start off the show with a favorite success quote, and this kind of kickstarts the show with something that you've lived by, and share with the audience what you got for us.
You know, when I was writing my bio for something, I just wrote "Live Rad, Die Proud," and it kind of stuck with me. And I wrote it in 1 minute. There wasn't too much thought that went into it other than, that's just how I kind of felt. If you live the life that you wanted to live and you did the things that you wanted, you look back at the end of the line and you can feel proud of what you did. That's really what you want in life.
Live rad, die proud. I like that. And I'm sure that comes in handy when you're skating.
Well, it's something to keep in the back of your mind when things get tough.
Skating's a tough sport, and now let's learn more about who you are. I'm not sure that my audience knows exactly who you are, so go ahead and share with the audience your story and your journey of how you got started with what you do.
When I was a kid, I saw people skateboarding down the street. I wished that I could do it too. I thought it was awesome. Begged my mom for a skateboard for 2 years, and she was scared that I would get hurt. Eventually, I was completely obsessed, but didn't have one. And so she bought me a skateboard, and from that moment on, I was hooked. So 8 years old, started skating, couldn't stop, skated all the time. Every bit of homework assignment, everything I had to do had something to do with skateboarding. And I wanted to learn everything about it because I loved it so much. I wanted to figure out every little movement. And that my love for skateboarding, coupled with my thirst to figure out every way to manipulate it, is what drove me to become where I am. When I finally figured out that I was going to do it for a living for the rest of my life, it was when I was looking at college brochures. And I didn't know what I wanted to be when I, quote unquote, grew up. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I realized I wasn't filling out any applications and I wasn't going to take my SATs. And I was already in line to be a professional skateboarder. I had gotten to the point where I was missing school to go on tour and things like that.
And so after leaving high school and making that decision, what was your mindset and what were the steps that you took to go pro? And also, what were some of the challenges you experienced on that journey?
It was just Skate skate to the best of my ability for that day, no matter what day it was, no matter where I was. It was skate the best you can skate.
Mm.
And if it was a demo, like a small demonstration at a skate park where fans show up and they watch, and I was the low man on the totem pole and nobody knew who I was skating 100% for that demo. I was going to die for that demo. And then if it were a contest, it could be the biggest contest of the year. I was 100% there. And if it was the small contest of the year, I was 100% there. It didn't matter what, because I really wanted to be my best. I wanted to do my best. And if you really hold on to that, and I guess it's the same with any type of business practice or anything, if you do your best every single day and you really accomplish, even if you don't get to where you wanted to go, you're going to get a lot further than you were going to go.
Yeah. And I interviewed a guest. His name was Todd Henry previously on this podcast. And he wrote a book called Die Empty. And it's about every day you want to put your best work out there and you want to go to bed knowing that you did everything that you could today and that you're sleeping knowing that you did it all. And so that when it's time to pass, when you die, you did everything that you wanted to do and you put it all out there on the table. You put it all on the line. So it sounds like you're living and breathing that. That's why I bring it up through skating and in your life.
Yeah.
It's like when you push yourself constantly and you're pushing the limits of what's possible, not only in your own life, but you're setting an example for the rest of the world.
Yeah. And you know what? We really cater to what we do. We cater to what our strengths are. And if you have weaknesses, you work on them, or you figure out a way to work around your weakness and you work on your strengths and you play to your strengths. And that goes with skateboarding, that goes with hockey, that goes with everything. And business, it really does matter to do that, to just play to your strengths. And like you said, with this guy wrote a book about dying empty, doing the best you can every single day and putting forth the most effort. We do that with what we're good at. And it's funny because I'd love to read that book because I want to figure out how to do it with the things that I'm not good at. That's what I need to figure out. Like most people try to get out, a lot of listeners may be trying to like excel from a mundane life or excel from what they're doing on the day to day and like get out there and really like thrill seek or whatever it may be. What I'm doing is thrill seeking for a living. That's what I chase, this thrill. But it's the mundane day-to-day work that I actually do lack at. So I'm the opposite way. I need to figure out how to do what most people are trying to get away from doing.
Trying to get away from that, yeah. And what's the thrill that you're seeking? Is it this adrenaline rush? Is it this flow state?
Yeah, it is. It's adrenaline, and it's kind of, I imagine, like an addiction to a point, because I see things as skate spots, how you would skate them, how you would have to adapt it to skate it. There's a handrail coming out of your house out front. If you opened up the front door, you'd have to take off the door shim. You'd have a runway to get to the handrail. You'd probably have to put like wood on the side of the landing because you may land like on the edge and go into grass. So you'd have to put wood there. Like, my brain does that within seconds all the time. And that's where it becomes kind of an addiction. And if there's something to get some wind in my face and make a physical challenge and beat it, I'm there. And I'm right in there. And with skateboarding, it's every time I'm on a board, I'm chasing that excitement of, it could be jumping and getting a rush of adrenaline, or it could be just figuring out something that I've missed or just haven't done in a long time or never really figured out. And that sometimes those are like way more significant days than the days when I'm jumping down a big handrail. Like this day, like I figured out this little move that isn't really a big deal, but it's like I figured out the cheat code to this one trick that's always been a little bit tricky to me. And that's huge. Like I feel really accomplished at the end of the day. And then the next day I wake up and I reboot and I try to do the same thing.
And it sounds like you're creating art with skateboarding. You're an artist on wheels, is what it is. And skateboarding is one of those sports where, I mean, you don't see those little minute details that make the trick so much harder. It could be like you're going switch or nollie, and that makes a world of difference. And so for the listeners, switch or nollie would just be like riding in a different stance, in a stance that you're not normally, geared to ride in.
Yeah, that is the trick with skateboarding and getting people to view skateboarding as, a really legitimate sport. The trickiest part is that since you skateboarded, you know why a backside tail slide is so stylish and why it's such a cool trick. The general public wouldn't, and they wouldn't understand how hard it is. They wouldn't understand, well, that guy doesn't usually turn backside, he turns frontside, and that trick is this. That is the trick. I mean, most people know how hard it is to get a basketball into a hoop when there's somebody in your way. Most people have done that, and they've saw that is very hard. And then most people know a UFC fighter, like, man, he's fighting this dude, and this dude's really strong. I can imagine what that would be like. I totally get this. He's getting punched in the face, and he's not knocking out. That's crazy. Skateboarding's tricky. Skateboarding's got a whole lot of ins and outs that the general public doesn't understand.
Yeah, very true. And skateboarding's really dangerous. I mean, yeah, I've broken bones before, and I'm sure you've been injured a ton. And I'm curious to know, like, as a professional skateboarder, what does it take to achieve that level? Like, what kind of injuries have you had, and how have you overcome these injuries?
It's long. A lot of times most times I don't get anything checked out. I just assume that it will be okay. Unless I'm like queasy. If it's obviously broken, you go and get it sorted out. If it's your toe, you're bummed. That's all you do. You're just like, oh, that's a bummer. But I did a fracture on my leg, and it's the lower outside bone of my shin right above my ankle. And I hit it on this handrail at such a weird angle, and then flipped over to like my neck on the stairs and stuff. But the angle that I hit my leg, it definitely fractured the outside bone. And I continued to tour. I continued to try to skate, even though even shaking the muscle hurt like crazy. And I never got it checked out. But there's a spot of damage, there's like a brown circle on my leg. And it's been there for the last like 7 years, 8 years. And there's a lot of that. I've knocked out my teeth, and knocking out your teeth is by far the worst, because you have to go to the dentist, and no one wants that. And you have it's bad, man. I think like some of the muscles in my jaw don't fire correctly because of how much dental trauma I've had.
It sounds like you're skating through the pain. Like, you've experienced a lot of injuries in your career, and you've had a lot of battles, a lot of broken bones, and just crazy things have happened. So I'm wondering, like, what keeps you going? Like, why keep skating when you're putting your body through so much pain?
I love it. I don't know how to not do it. I don't know how to not want to do it. And I feel like when you're at that point, you're a way better person when you get to do it. If you have this hobby that you love to do, but you have a 9 to 5, and you go through the weekend without getting to do your hobby that you love to do, that thing that you live for, but you work. And then that weekend comes and you don't get a chance to do it. That next week, you are such a curmudgeon until you get another chance to breathe that air that breathes life into you. And that's kind of where my skateboarding is. I need it. And I've actually shied away from doing tricks that I think may hurt me, even though they would be great for my video part, or I'd get a lot of accolades for doing this trick. I shy away from it because I like skateboarding every day so much that I don't want to get taken away from skateboarding every day because I tried this one trick and fell real hard.
And is this something that you've seen happen to your peers or just guys in the action sports industry?
So many. Just guys that they're just like me. So some things are just too big to get out of. And these guys are just as skilled as anybody else. They're really good. They know when things have gone sour, But even when the deal goes sour, there's nothing you can do because the rail was just too long. You were going too fast, or there just wasn't a way out. And people always think like, oh man, like you ever like straddle a handrail? Like, oh, that would be the end of my skateboarding for sure. That's not the worst. You can sit on a rail and be bummed, but if you hit your neck on a rail, you're way more bummed. There's another skater who skates for the same company as me, and he landed, straddled a handrail, and hit his cheekbone on the handrail, like just smashed his face on the rail. And that's like, way, that's lame. Like that's really lame. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, no one wants to do that. And having this, you've gone through so many injuries and having this extensive career in skateboarding, looking back, all the achievements you've had and awards you've won, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about skateboarding, like life lessons? And what are some of the things you've learned about skateboarding and how it relates to life?
That is the biggest thing I've learned from skateboarding is you can break things down. You can break things down into the smallest little bits of information to carry them with you. And I've done that with skateboarding. I've really broken things down so small. And now it's just a gut feeling, but the information is in my head and it's making my muscles do what they're doing. But I just go on feeling, and your reaction time gets really spot on, but not just reaction, but also controlling your impulse. If I turn and there's like a bird flying like straight at my face, I don't like bend over backwards, whoa, like and try to matrix out the thing. Like I'll turn, it'll be right in front of my face, and I'll just turn my head just a little bit, and then it'll fly like right next to my head. Something like that. Or like if your kid throws a baseball and you weren't looking, then you turn and you see it, you like barely move because your brain like just has a lot of impulse control with skateboarding. But what I've kind of taken away from skateboarding is if you really focus on something and really dive into it head on, love it for every bit that it is, you'll get rather good at it. And it doesn't like it could have been music, it could have been football, it could have been anything. If you dive in as far as I dove in with skateboarding, you'll get good at it.
And Chris, I'm wondering if you've applied any of these lessons into any other areas of your life, or if you have any other passions or interests and you've really applied yourself and you excelled.
I'm into tons of stuff. Yeah, I'm into tons of stuff, but I just so happen to really love skateboarding. And then I have 2 children and a wife. So I do that more than anything else now that I have kids. Speaking of which. Yeah, I'm okay. I just needed to switch. I'm just switching out my daughter's shoes. She's at dance class, so she has to.
Dad, I play with my friend Olivia. She's taking me to her house in her car.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Can I ever play it with her?
Oh, you'll have to talk to mommy about that later on. Okay, have fun. You go that way.
Somebody else.
Go back in. Sorry. Okay. I'm back.
That's hilarious. You were just talking about like your family and stuff, and then your kid comes in. I'll have to just leave all of that in there. But go ahead and you continue on where you left off.
Yeah, you know what? I have just applied that kind of with my kids. Skateboarding keeps you young at heart. It's a way to you have like a really good time. Just a really good time. And it takes that edge off the world, takes that like hardened edge off the world, that you get something that makes you truly happy like a little kid. And you get to do your hobby, you get to play for a living. And so I really like that. And I can play with my kids like another kid is in the house, and I like what they like. I love toys, always love toys, and then try to keep them up on like the old classic shows. Like this morning we watched G1 Transformer cartoons in the first season, and my kids are like really into Ninja Turtles, like the 1989 series.
There it is. I remember watching those series. And yeah, you're not kidding. I mean, you playing with your kids, having a good time, and you're passionate about being a father, and that's really cool. I respect that. And now, Chris, we have something called the knowledge round. It's where I ask you rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, I want to give you more details about the Lion's Den. It's a private Facebook group where you post your goals in health, wealth, relationships, and personal growth. The guys hold you accountable, and you have a place where you can get instant feedback from other high-performing men from around the world. You can get more details at knowledgeformen.com and click on the Lion's Den. There's men's coaches in there, there's dating coaches, fitness coaches, millionaires, guys with startups, guys who just graduated college and are happy to be surrounded by so many guys just making it happen for themselves. There's fathers in there, military personnel, and just all walks of life from all over the world. 70 guys strong right now and growing every day. But the one thing that we all have in common is that we just want to achieve greatness. We want to push ourselves. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to really just become the men we want to become and do it not alone. We don't want to do this journey, take this path alone. We want to do it together with other men. And that's what I find so powerful about this group. We also do monthly Google Hangouts, which is sort of like an online meetup with about 12 guys in each hangout. So you can meet all these guys and build stronger relationships with other high-performing men. And there's also a structure to each hangout. Guys, this group only costs $19 a month for a limited time. You can get more details and you can set up a consultation with me at knowledgeformen.com and click on the Lion's Den and get started from there. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. All right, Chris, what advice would you give to someone who wants to become a professional athlete?
Love it for what it is. Love your sport. Don't do it for money. Don't do it for anyone else. Do it for you and your love for it.
Very good. And I've noticed that people who really succeed at a very high level were people who found something that they love to do, and they found their thing, and they found something that they can immerse themselves into, where money was no longer an object. And there's still a lot of people out there, even listeners, who haven't found that one thing yet. So Chris, obviously you have found that one thing with skateboarding, but what advice would you have to people who haven't found their passion or they haven't found that sense of purpose in their life?
Try to think outside the box as much as you possibly can. I mean, really dive in there and think differently. Go kayaking. See if that's your thing. If kayaking isn't your thing, try self-help books and counseling books on just maybe being a psychologist is your thing. If that's not your thing, try working on your car. Maybe that's your thing. Just try everything.
All right. And Chris, was there anything that was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
I needed to grow up a little bit for a really long time. And a lot of us guys don't really grow up until a woman makes us grow up. And luckily I found an amazing wife who she worded it well and broke things down to me really well. And as much as I still have to grow as a human being, where I am now and where I was 10 years ago is drastic change.
And specifically, what kind of change are you talking about?
I can have a tough conversation now. I would avoid things. Like I would avoid just an awkward situation or things like that. And I can deal with that. I'm a father and I'm a man of a house, and I need to protect my family, and I need to do what's right even when it feels bad. Yay. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been taking my daughter to dance class.
This is hilarious. You're multitasking. Your daughter's in dance class. You're doing a podcast interview with me.
Yeah, no, I do this every Wednesday. Every Wednesday I'll do this. I'll just, any chance I get, I do most of my work with kids present. I do an interview while I'm dropping my son off at school or on my way back from picking him up, or I'll be practicing tricks while the kids are playing around me, like skating with my son. My daughter's riding her bike in circles around us, or in between goes, my daughter goes and retrieves my board because she like likes to help, so she tries to help, and like we'll run and grab my board and bring it back to me, and then I try the trick again.
I can picture that. That looks like I can picture this little cute picture of you're skating, like practicing new tricks, and you got your kids running around you. That's funny. And next question I have for you, Chris, is can you name a person who's had an impact on your life? Maybe a mentor. What did he or she say to you that really had, an impactful moment for you?
Well, man, there's so many people. So many people are have an equal hand in this machine working the way it did. I can say my mom. My mother was a nurse, and she hated the hours that she had to work. She had to work the tough hours to take care of my brother and myself. And when I wanted to skateboard, she didn't resist that at all, and just said, "This is your life. You should do what makes you happy in your life." It's like, I want to ride horses. That's what I want to do. But instead, I'm a nurse. And I want you to make yourself happy.
Huh. Sounds like your mother made some sacrifices for you and your brother. I admire that. And Chris, scenario here for you. Imagine you had 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self. What would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
Be the man right now that you want to look back on in every aspect of life. Be a man up to any challenge that you face, even if it's tough. Man up to it. And if you were watching the story of your life, what would you want it to look like? You have to go write that. You have to be that. You have to become that in order for that story to be told. Life is a bunch of memories, and you need to make a ton of really good ones.
Wow. And I think the key word there is make your memories. It's like you can't wait and expect the memories to happen. Like you got to go out and create them. Like you got to make them happen for yourself. I like that. And Chris, what's like, as we're winding down here, what's your philosophy on life and success?
Yeah, that's my philosophy on life, is your life is going to be a story, and you really want it to be a story that's worth living. They write movies and they make them super duper fantastic and crazy, but some people actually live those stories. Some people actually live those lives. Like, what is your life going to be like? Are you going to have an incredible story like Forrest Gump? Or are you going to have a story that nobody really wants to read, where it's like, he was a good guy, and that's all they have to say about you? You want them to say that rather than, yeah, he was pretty lame. Because, that would be terrible. But at the end of the line, it's all memories, and you just want to have really great ones, and you want to share them with other people, and you want those memories to be passed on. Nowadays, with technology, you can really tell your story, and it can be handed down, not in just fairy tale. Like, if you have like a brat pack of grandkids that are supposed to be carrying your story on, but they just don't feel like it, and then forget it, then you're forgotten. But nowadays, you can really put those things in HD, 1080, and just drop them on a disc, and there you are. There's great grandfather telling his life story, and it's a good one.
Yeah, very true. And Chris, where do you see skateboarding going in the future? I'm watching YouTube videos of kids doing, like, teenagers, like young 13-year-old kids doing 1080s. We got kids doing big air in the X Games.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing an influx of larger brands getting involved in skateboarding, like Nike getting more involved and spending more money, seeing it as a more legitimate sport.
I think that skateboarding in the mainstream, there's more people skateboarding now than ever. I think that they're going to continue doing that. It's going to grow. People are going to see it. People are going to know the key players in skateboarding and the big names. And it's going to raise the level of skateboarding to a real sport. The core of skateboarding will always remain. It won't fluctuate as much as the TV part of skateboarding will. TV part of skateboarding will probably do like real popular around this season, and then digress back a little bit, and then again there'll be like these new guys, and it's going to get more like a TV show. There will be rivalries that are like hooked up by TV and online, where you can't be a Stones fan and a Beatles fan You have to pick one. You know, they'll do that with skateboarding. The core will stay. People will still do video parts in the street. People will still skateboard in front of their house with their friends and do it for the right reasons. And then there will be a couple people that come in just for money. And that's just going to happen.
Yeah, it's good to hear that. I mean, I grew up skateboarding, and it's good to know that the sport's growing in a good direction for the most part. And now, Chris, that's going to conclude the knowledge round, but let's go into like what's exciting you today and what are you currently working on?
It's an ongoing battle. My days are dissected into parts around my family and around my skateboarding, and I slide in what I have to do around these little chunks of time. That's what wakes me up in the morning, is getting that day started and having some energy and getting it. Right now, I'm in full skate mode because the summer's coming up, contests are coming up, and so I have basically things being pushed off of my plate so that I can just skateboard. And that's what I'm doing. I skate every single day right now, and it's great.
It's just so cool to talk to someone who's like living their thing, like just really living and breathing their thing. So it's inspiring, to say the least. And Chris, go ahead and plug yourself for any upcoming videos or projects, things like that you're working on right now.
Well, I just in March dropped a video part for my Cole Light 2 shoe, and that's my DC video part. It's up on YouTube. It's also, you can find the link at Chris Cole Skate or chriscobracole.com, and then also DC Shoes website. And that's my latest video offering. And then you can also check me out at Street League and X Games coming up. Street League has a couple different dates this summer. And then it's on Fox Sports 1. And then X Games is obviously X Games. And that's, I believe, June 4th or 5th in Austin, Texas.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story and life lessons with my community and being the first professional skateboarder on my show. I really admire that. I appreciate that a lot.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, and that's going to wrap up episode 62 with pro skater Chris Cole. All right, and for today's action item, let's look at Chris Cole. And what he does is he's really passionate about skateboarding, and it was something that he found at a young age and kept doing. He never stopped doing it. So the action item for you guys is to dig up something that you were really passionate about in your life, whatever it was. Was it hockey? Was it soccer? Was it swimming? Was it like shooting guns? Was it archery? Like, was it kayaking? Was it surfing? Was it skateboarding? Was it riding your bike? Was it running? What was it that really brought you alive when you were younger and just you grew up and things happened and you kind of put it aside? You know, is there some dusty item in your garage that you just so badly want to start playing? Is it even an instrument? What is it? So find something in your life that you used to do it all the time and you've stopped doing that. So I want you to bring that back. I want you to bring that hobby back into your life. Tell me what that hobby is, andrew@knowledgeformen.com, and share with me that experience you had. All right, take care. Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast show. It's been a pleasure having you be a part of a thriving community of men who want to crush it in all aspects of life. I'm on a mission here to inspire millions of guys, and with your help, we're going to make a dent in the universe. Check out knowledgeformen.com for a ton of free content that's designed to help you live a remarkable life. Again, that's knowledgeformen.com. I hope to see you there. And always remember, 2014 is the official year of the crush, where we take action to get the life we've always dreamed of. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and until next time, let's do it.